right now, as we end, I would just like to ask you if you have any other questions or observations about what you've seen here today.
So a lot of my training is with multiple small groups simultaneously. So I could imagine an HR director saying, you do this kind of work with multiple small groups. Is there a way to play the leadership game with four, and it would be a live thing, with four groups simultaneously, where there is a record keeper and a facilitator, and maybe even what they would probably want me to do, which I don't think would be necessarily ideal. I'd have to think about it more, is they would probably want me to do something up front, almost like playing it digitally from up front in a way that applies to each table. So like everyone at the table, like there's the same number of people at each table. So they're numbered off 1 through whatever.
Sure.
And so it's up on the screen. The digital version's up on the screen. And then, if it's employee number 2, then whoever's number 2 at every table is answering that question, and notes are being taken on it by the scribe at that table.
Yeah, I've never seen that done, but that certainly sounds like it would be very able to, you could organize it in such a way that it wouldn't be that difficult to make it work the way that you want it to work. I can see it as you're describing it, how easy it would be to do that. You would just have to employ scribes, and you would have to get just a 6-sided dice, and each color would represent a number. So that would be easy. Distributing the post-it notes, that's not a big deal. And really and truly, you don't have to have, you as the facilitator are there in the front. So you don't need a facilitator at each table. They can handle the cards, reading them from the front. Another possible way to do it is you could just spread out the leadership game cards and give each team 4 or 5 yellow ones, so that you would just move the cards. They would get different questions that way, but you could do it that way as well, where each table is just working on their own. And you could even assign a facilitator at each table to keep the game moving. I don't think it would be that hard to train. Now, that's not something we're taught to do, but I could see that being in a package of something that you could do. And I think as far as Maxwell is concerned, adding value is the biggest thing. So if we can figure out a way to make it work for what your needs are, we would definitely take a stab at it. So
yeah. Okay. All right.
And I don't know if I expressed this clearly, but at the end of the gameplay, which would be about 90 minutes, we would finish the circuit to the last player to make sure everyone had the same amount of turns. And then that 30-minute grace period from 90 minutes to 2 hours, I would select a trigger card question from one of the blue cards ahead of time as the facilitator. And you could pick that as the leader if you wanted to. And then I would just use that last question to let everybody answer it around the circle as a closing question that would lift everyone's idea of what they learned, something from a previous discussion.
I like that. Yeah.
One card we didn't draw is sometimes they'll have a debate. And so the question that they get will be, they'll have to pick a side of the coin that they want to argue.
Okay. Yeah.
Someone to take the other side of the coin. And then those two will debate that topic.
Wow. Yeah.
And then other players will get a chance to agree or disagree with one of the two players. So those are great cards as well to raise discussion. But we could even, end on a debate question. But I rather do the trigger because they just seem,
I agree.
They're not threatening, and they just give everybody a little bit of insight to give back to the group as we finish. So that's the way that we end it. And then we're done within 2-hour time frame every time. And it works really well for that amount of time. Everybody can handle themselves without needing a break usually for that long, and it's short enough. There's a lot of laughter too. So the shortest distance between two people is laughter, they say. And I think that helps also build the trust of your teams as well.
Have you noticed any need for like icebreaker, not necessarily activity or anything, but icebreaker type questions that kind of warm them up, or they're just ready to go? You just start playing, they're ready to go.
I've never used an icebreaker. Most of the teams either work a lot together every day, or if they're not in the same space working together, if they're in different cubicles or offices, the leader has done their work at saying, here's what we're going to do. And
Okay.
I feel like they're already eager to start the game, is what we've always experienced. They know that's what we're doing, and that's kind of like their mind is kind of ready
to go. All right. I like that. Saves time.
Yeah, it does. Now you could put this into a bigger day if you had an idea for that, where you had some stuff beforehand and then you played the leadership game. But other than that, I would say in the 2-hour time frame you have, it takes care of itself pretty quickly with the questions that come up, and everybody just kind of gets right into the dialogue. So
that's good. It seems like a game like this would need to be played in the morning. In order to catch people while they're fresh, before the frustrations of the day have had time to wear on them any, before just the fatigue of the day starts to set in. Seems like we get better participation and clearer thought if this were, and I was thinking that as you were talking about, like, this could be a part of a bigger event. If so, then I would say this needs to happen early in the event rather than later.
I've never used it as part of a bigger event, just between you and I here, but I think it would be a fantastic part of a big day. I think what I've seen in the afternoon uses of it is leaders will tend to put something with it in the afternoon to keep that energy, like you said. And the leaders intuitively knew that when they invited me. They said, this is how we want to do it. We're going to have a break. We're going to eat some pizza. We'll kind of come together and we'll reestablish the rules, and we'll go into the game to give people a chance to have some energy going into it. And so you're right. It does work better in the morning if you're just going to do the game. And I think that's a good thought and a good recommendation. I've noticed that people are clearer and better communicators, really, oftentimes in the morning. So
it seems that a struggle that a lot of facilitators would have with this is being able to clearly explain the different elements, and to know what you need to explain right up front and what you can explain along the way. So I see that being just from a facilitator's perspective.
I will say that it is harder to explain on the online version when you're in the room with the cards. And it's a lot easier to do, and I do most of it up front. I think with the online game, it's better to say, as we go along, I'm going to remind you of how to award points and how to use certain things. But just to note, I've got it down to like 4 things, and then let's start. And I think it's a little clumsy in that you have to keep reminding people, but it also, I think you just confuse people at the beginning, and you lose the time that you would have to go ahead and re-explain it anyway.
Okay, there we go. I like that.
I think.
Yeah, well, people listen better when they're having to immediately apply it. Oh, you're telling me I can do this right now. Okay.
Yeah, and so for the first couple of questions, I would actually pause and say, now, remember, you can award for this. If you would like to do that, let's take care of that now. And then after a couple, I would say, now just make sure that you let me know when you want to award a card. It just seems to be a little bit easier in the online version to do it that way.
Okay.
With less explaining up front.
Yeah.
Side note is that this game actually has a teen version, and it actually has what's called the corporate leadership game. And those both are geared a little bit differently with the kinds of questions that they ask to meet the audience, but they're played the same way. They just have a little bit different feel with the questions. And so those are options as well. I don't have those on the slide or anything, but I did want to give that input to you in case there's an audience that's specified to high-level corporate executives, or you want to try this with a group of teens or youth. Anybody out there listening, we can offer those as well. And they're same impact, a little bit different with the youth, but the corporate definitely comes with a very similar impact to this game. Well, I want to thank you for participating and for the value of your time today, Mike, and for just going through this with me. Greatly appreciate that, and want to thank you.
Well, thanks. I see this as being an excellent tool that can help organizations in multiple ways, both in the present, like troubleshooting different issues that may come up, and also in the future as they look to succession planning, or even if there's a group like a city council that's having to face a tough decision. These questions could help them think through that decision and to see multiple perspectives and to get a better idea of the personalities that are involved in making that decision. So I see this as being an excellent tool with multiple applications.
Well, again, you've done a great job of just exploring some of the other possibilities that you could see with it. And I would encourage anyone who's watching this video just to dream of what might be possible with this resource, and reach out to us at Game Time Leadership Solutions, MRG Presentations. Let us know if there's anything that we can do to serve you with this resource, and we'll be happy to come alongside you and really help to motivate your people and give you clarity as a leader on how to utilize the resource that you have with the people that are around you. Thanks a lot. We're going to close down for today, and we'll talk to you soon.